Hello, YouTube family. This is Blake Handshake, and I'm here at you with another video. And today I'm going to talk about interracial dating in South Korea. There are many interracial couples in Korea. Well, for a small country, there's a lot for a small country standards. Most Koreans prefer to date other Koreans, but there are Koreans who date foreigners. Some seriously, some not so serious, but I'll get into all the details in this video. The first thing I wanted to talk about is that if you're a foreigner living and working in or studying in Korea, you can meet a Korean in almost any city. I spent 2 years in Daejeon, and I've been spending the past year and a half in Gyeonggi-do, which is the province of cities that surround the capital. It's a province of all the cities that surround Seoul. So I've been living in that province for about a year and a half now. But most of your interracial couples, international couples like Koreans and another foreigner, you'll see in Seoul, most of them in Seoul. That's the honest truth. It can happen in other places, but most common in Seoul. So if you want to date a Korean, most of the Korean people who are open-minded about foreigners are going to be in Seoul or near Seoul. But as I've said, it can happen other places too. I also wanted to talk about that, and the honest truth is that if you date a Korean, some of them are just going to date you just for the experience. So like maybe to improve their English, or maybe just to tell their friends they dated a foreigner, and they might genuinely like you, and they might have genuinely like dating you. But when it comes to settling down and having a serious relationship, marriage, sadly many Koreans, both men and women, are not willing to date a foreigner. They're not open to that idea. I'm not saying all of them, but some of them are like that. Keep that in mind. But there are many Koreans that are married to foreigners and have children and are happily married. Just warning that there are some that will not seriously, they'll date you, but not in a serious way. And it happens in any country. But like I've said, there are Koreans married to foreigners and they're happy. So just a polite warning. Another thing I wanted to talk about, and this is the brutal truth, okay? If you're white, okay? If you're a white guy or a white girl, if even, you won't have a hard time finding Korean people to date, okay? Almost every time I see Korean couples, they're white. They are white, holding hands with a white person, and it's almost every time. And everywhere, whether it's in Seoul, whether it's another city, always a white person. It's very rare, and when I say rare, I mean it. It's very rare to see a Korean holding hands with someone who's black, or like a Southeast Asian. If it's not a white person, a lot of Koreans date like other Asian foreigners, okay? Like maybe Japanese or Chinese. But the harsh reality is that if you're black, or like from a Southeast Asian country, it might be difficult for you to find a partner. Okay, so black, Southeast Asian, Indian, Pakistani, like from other nations that are not as praised globally, it'll be difficult. But never say never. But just being honest, white people usually have an easier time dating in Korea. I'd say the majority of time I see Koreans dating a foreigner, like 99% of the time it's a white person. So keep that in mind. Someone like myself who's light-skinned, I'm half black, not fully black, I think I have an easier time. But if you're black, I think you will have an easier time in Seoul, like go to Itaewon or a place where a lot of Koreans go where there's a lot of foreigners. So if you're a black person, never say never. It could happen anywhere, but most likely, like in Seoul or like Pyeongtaek, like a place with U.S. military bases, most likely be a little more open to black people. Okay, it's the honest truth. So if you're white, you have a good time. You're black, Southeast Asian, or from like a nation that's not known as rich, just telling you, like, not my opinion, just how they're viewed, you might have a hard time. But never say never. Okay? Another thing about Korean culture is that the parents' opinion matters. So in American culture, if your parents don't accept your partner, you have the right to say, okay, well, that's my partner, take it or leave it. Okay? So, like, if my parents didn't like my partner, or, you know, I would politely say, obviously it depends on the reason, but it's for, like, a reason that's, like, biased or not really wise, like shallow reasons, I would politely tell my parents, hey, I love this person. If you don't like them, you got to learn to accept it. And I'm going to keep being with this person. In Korean society, if their parents don't like you, it doesn't matter if it's a stupid reason. That person will follow their parents. Okay? So, like, if 9 times out of 10, they might try, they will most likely try to convince their parents to change their mind, but their parents don't change their way of thinking, 9 times out of 10, the relationship, that person will follow their parents. So the parents can even not like you for silly reasons, like, oh, you're a foreigner, oh, you don't look good enough, or oh, your job's not the greatest. Sadly, they will still follow their parents, so keep that in mind. You better hope their parents like you. It makes life much easier. And that's not just in Korean society, I think that's in Asian culture in general. Honoring your parents and pleasing your parents is a big deal. Okay? So that's just what to expect. The truth about interracial dating in Korea. Basic points. You want to date a Korean? You'll have an easier time in Seoul. Or maybe in other big cities, yes, you can. But Seoul, or cities closer to Seoul, it's easier. They're more open. Some Koreans will date you just for the experience. Some Koreans will not seriously consider marrying a foreigner. But there are several that will marry a foreigner. Okay? If you're white, much easier time. If you're not white, if you're black, or like from a Southeast Asian country, or from a country that's considered not, what's the polite word? Not desired, you might have a harder time. And the parents' opinion really matters. And not just the parents, like, friends' opinions matter too, but more so the parents and even the grandparents if they're still living. So keep that in mind. Okay, so if you're a foreigner who wants to work and live in Korea, or you currently live in Korea, keep this in mind. I hope my video is helpful, and happy hunting.